Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into the emotional and intricate journey of Phoebe, a character who finds herself at a pivotal moment in her life, searching for meaning amidst personal turmoil. Join us as we delve into this compelling story, where every moment brings us closer to understanding the beauty and pain of human connections. Let's get started. To give you a quick overview, the book tells the story of Phoebe's transformation from despair and a planned suicide to finding a renewed sense of purpose and connection. This journey is set against the backdrop of a wedding that gathers a diverse group of characters, each dealing with their own struggles, relationships, and the search for meaning in life. The novel centers on Phoebe, a woman struggling to find a reason to live after her divorce and a series of personal setbacks. As the story opens in Chapter 1, the opening reception, we arrive at the Cornwall Inn on a Tuesday, where wedding guests are converging for an event that will gradually pull all the characters into one another's lives. It's a bustling backdrop, busy staff, social gatherings, and the sense that something pivotal is about to unfold. In Chapter 2, Phoebe arrives at the Cornwall Inn wearing an emerald silk dress, deeply contemplating her decision to end her own life. The hotel's atmosphere contrasts her internal despair. Happy wedding guests move through the lobby, preparing for a grand celebration, while Phoebe is determined to orchestrate a tragic ending. She encounters the bride, Lila, in a confined space, a short but fateful elevator ride, where she reveals her intention to end her life. Shocked, Lila tries to intervene, but Phoebe is convinced her life is beyond repair. It's clear that this moment will ripple through both of their stories. The narrative backtracks in Chapter 3 to a time when Phoebe was married to Matt. They were struggling with fertility treatments, and Phoebe attempted to micromanage her life through spreadsheets and vacation itineraries to regain control. While Matt thrived in academia, receiving an important award, Phoebe felt increasingly inadequate. Their intimacy, both emotional and physical, suffered. The seeds of her despair are sown here. She feels left behind, overshadowed, and painfully disconnected from her own body and professional goals. Though they share a brief moment of closeness, it's tinged with the fragility of a relationship under strain. By Chapter 4, set firmly in the present, Phoebe has finalized her plan. She wants to see the ocean for the first time, make a final decadent meal in her room, and take a deliberate exit from life. However, when the hotel's room service falls through due to an opening reception and understaffing, her carefully scripted plan begins to unravel. Already on edge, Phoebe panics about losing control over how she wanted her final day to unfold. She's haunted by the idea of orchestrating an elegant ending, similar to those she admires in literature, yet life continues to throw her unplanned complications. Chapter 5 sees a direct confrontation between Phoebe and Lila. Lila, angered by Phoebe's smoking indoors, barges into her room. The conversation quickly takes a startling turn toward personal revelations. Lila confides about her father, her fiancé Gary, and her anxieties about the wedding. Phoebe shares fragments of her own despair. Oddly enough, this push and pull sparks a brief human connection. The two women even find a moment to laugh. This scene underscores the complexities of their personalities. Lila is anxious and controlling about her perfect wedding, while Phoebe's entire world is crumbling, but they manage a fleeting moment of genuine empathy. The drama peaks in Chapter 6, when Phoebe actually swallows a fatal dose of pills. As drowsiness sets in, she tries to maintain a semblance of normalcy by giving fashion advice to Pauline, the hotel's property manager. Suddenly, the bride's mother's speech from the wedding party below drifts into Phoebe's consciousness, awakening a fierce, last-minute will to live. Realizing she doesn't want to die, Phoebe forces herself to vomit. Exhausted, she collapses on the bathroom floor, where the wedding celebrations echo from a distance. This moment is a turning point. Her plan to end it all collides with an unexpected love for the world around her. Chapter 7, titled Wednesday, briefly shifts the focus to the idea of sailing. Although presented succinctly, it symbolizes a new journey for the characters, especially Phoebe, venturing from suicidal despair toward a more uncertain but hopeful horizon. The ocean comes to represent possibility, risk, and the messiness of life that can't be reduced to neat spreadsheets or carefully choreographed endings. This sets the stage for Chapter 8, where Phoebe, recovering from her attempt, finds herself awake in the middle of the night. She drags herself to the hotel's hot tub for a semblance of physical comfort. There, she meets a man who opens up a raw conversation on mental health and the universal desire for connection. For the first time in a while, Phoebe experiences a gentle sense of belonging. So much so that she ends up reading Mrs. Dalloway and reflecting on the parallels with her own emotional state. The choice to continue living or to reach for something more than despair becomes more real. In Chapter 9, we see a flashback to Phoebe's earlier days with Matt. A power outage interrupts their academic routine and prompts deeper conversation about their hopes, aspirations, and the weight of dissertations. It marks the start of their love story, a soft reminder that Phoebe once felt love and passion, and that her journey to this moment of despair did not happen overnight. By Chapter 10, Lila storms into Phoebe's space once again, more frazzled than before. Though Lila cares little for Phoebe's well-being on the surface, she insists that Phoebe join her for a sailing excursion. Lila is wrestling with her own doubts about Gary, her friends, and her overbearing mother. Phoebe, despite her initial reluctance, begins to see small pleasures in this forced outing: hair products, borrowed clothes, anything that might nudge her to embrace life. In Chapters 11 and 12, we watch Phoebe encounter new characters in Lila's circle, including Gary's sister Marla and daughter Juice, as well as Lila's friends. Sailing becomes a stage for personal revelations, tensions, and comedic confessions. A symbolic funeral for Juice's virtual dog becomes a surprisingly therapeutic ceremony for Phoebe, helping her process her own losses. These moments out on the water highlight the interplay of heartbreak, family drama, and the strange solidarity that arises when people share small rituals. By Chapter 13, Phoebe has fallen into the role of Lila's unexpected maid of honor. Their bond tightens in surprising ways. Lila's anxiety, vulnerabilities, and loneliness rise to the surface. At the same time, Phoebe takes measured steps away from her suicidal darkness, drawn into Lila's drama, yet finding renewed purpose in offering empathy to someone else. Chapter 14 signals Thursday, the bachelorette party, and indeed, the usual pre-wedding festivities follow. Even in typical bachelorette party chaos, the undertones are heavy. Lila's anxieties about her decision to marry Gary, Phoebe's complicated feelings of both loyalty and curiosity, and the swirl of comedic attempts at a good time. In Chapter 15, Phoebe feels drawn to the cliff walk, seeking a connection to nature. She envisions a new life that might include adopting a dog. While strolling, she crosses paths with Gary, and they share a heartfelt conversation about their mutual losses and the complicated nature of forging ahead in life. Later, Phoebe takes on tasks like confirming the infamous sex woman for the bachelorette party, a sign that she's tentatively embracing life's social demands again. Chapter 16 shifts back to Phoebe's past. We learn more about the affair that ended her marriage, and we see how her ex-husband Matt moved on swiftly, starting a new family, something Phoebe had desperately wanted. Yet Phoebe's time spent with young Juice, Gary's daughter, is renewing her sense of humor and her capacity for connection. A shopping trip and an animal shelter visit hint that Phoebe can still find new corners of happiness. In Chapter 17, Phoebe returns clothes to Patricia, Lila's mother, and the two share an unexpectedly vulnerable talk. Patricia reveals her own regrets and how she's managed her image as an artist and widow. This conversation deepens the novel's exploration of identity and how it changes with age and circumstance. Phoebe sees a reflection of her own struggle in Patricia's acceptance of the life she has lived. Chapter 18 takes us to the spa portion of Lila's bachelorette party. The women share everything from insecurities about aging to doubts about the upcoming marriage. Gary's perspective also emerges. He's wrestling with the memory of his late wife and the question of whether he's truly ready to love again. By the end of the night, Lila doubts her decision to marry Gary. The tension hints that something seismic might happen on the wedding day. That tension carries into Chapter 19, the blending of the families, describing the emotional labor involved in merging two distinct lives and families. The atmosphere is both celebratory and uneasy. Meanwhile, Chapter 20 sees Phoebe surfing with Gary and Juice. Lila is notably absent, nursing hangover-like regrets. During the lesson, Phoebe finds camaraderie and light-hearted joy. A casual meal at Flo's afterward cements a sense of closeness she never anticipated. In Chapter 21, Phoebe wrestles with writing her maid of honor speech, doubting the sincerity of Lila and Gary's relationship. A playful but illuminating conversation with Jim, Gary's best man, leads them both to reflect on how weddings stir up complicated emotions. Jealousy, regret, hope. They share edibles and talk about love's elusive nature. It's in this haze of candor that Phoebe finally unlocks a way to write her speech, inadvertently unlocking hope for her own life. Chapter 22, Saturday, the rehearsal dinner, sets the stage for final wedding preparations. But the dinner is far from smooth. Tensions among families and friends simmer close to the surface. Arguments about small details, like missing palate cleansers, reveal deep-seated frictions, and overshadowing it all is the big question of whether this wedding will actually proceed. Chapter 23 finds Phoebe spending much of the day with Gary. She supports him through last-minute errands, feeling a deepening emotional bond. She also contemplates a new job that would make her a winter keeper in a mansion, an enormous life pivot signaling her readiness for change. The day ends with Phoebe and Gary returning to the hotel, uncertain about everything. By Chapter 24, the rehearsal at the Breakers underscores everyone's emotional exhaustion. Jim pours his heart out in a speech that reveals a love for Lila. Gary doubts the wedding, and Phoebe's ex-husband Matt appears, adding another layer of confusion. Chapter 25 is an intense meeting between Phoebe and Matt, where he pleads for a second chance. Phoebe, while moved by his regret, realizes her path has diverged from his. She cannot simply backtrack and become the person she was. These old feelings bump against her present turmoil over Gary and Lila. By Chapter 26, Sunday, the wedding day dawns, yet the earlier cracks are impossible to ignore. Chapter 27 shows Phoebe and Lila candidly addressing those doubts. Lila confesses she doesn't really want to marry Gary, and Phoebe, now determined to honor whatever honesty she has left, supports Lila's choice to call it off. This is no small decision. Guests are gathered, expectations are high, but Lila is on the brink of reclaiming her agency. Chapter 28 depicts Phoebe driving to the Breakers to deliver the news to Gary that the wedding is cancelled. She handles it directly, proving that she's acquired a certain resilience. Afterward, she and Matt have one final moment of real tenderness, acknowledging they still love each other, but both recognize they need to move forward separately. Phoebe feels relieved and bittersweet, understanding that letting go can be an act of both sorrow and liberation. In Chapter 29, the aftermath at the Cornwall is hushed. A second wedding party is due, so Phoebe can't extend her stay. She's torn about whether to contact Gary, who has vanished from sight. She revisits her wedding speech, finding solace in writing, and in parallels to classic literature, Jane Eyre's own failed wedding resonates with her new perspective. A job offer arrives, suggesting a tangible next step for her future. Finally, in Chapter 30, Monday, the wedding brunch, and Chapter 31, we witness the lingering ripples of the cancelled wedding. Characters gather in various states of reflection, regret, and unexpected hope. Marla waits to see Gary. Phoebe and Gary share a conversation about forging new beginnings out of heartbreak. In these closing moments, the story accentuates a bittersweet truth. Endings can lead to fresh starts. For Phoebe, who arrived wanting to die, this strange wedding weekend becomes the catalyst for affirming life. Taken together, the novel follows Phoebe's radical journey from near suicide to re-evaluating every bond in her life. Through chaotic wedding events, unplanned confessions, deep friendships, and unforeseen connections, particularly with Lila, Gary, and Matt, Phoebe realizes that life, messy as it is, might still be worth living. She moves from being a mere observer of others' happiness and heartbreak to an active participant in new possibilities. The cancelled wedding underscores that not all endings are final defeats. Sometimes, stepping away from the expected narrative is precisely where hope begins. As we conclude this deeply moving narrative, we're reminded of the resilience of the human spirit and the unpredictable journey of life. Phoebe's story, from the depths of despair to the brink of new beginnings, teaches us about the power of connection. the importance of self-discovery, and the courage it takes to face our truths. This book is a testament to the idea that even in our darkest moments, there's a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption, and the possibility of finding joy in the unexpected. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments below. What moments resonated with you the most? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more heartfelt book discussions, and share it with anyone who loves a story that explores the complexities of life and love. Until next time, keep turning the pages and discovering the stories that move us. Take care.